Thompson stood at the center of the gathering, the energy swirling around him, a living testament to the town's simmering anger against the HOA and its ruthless enforcer, Sarah. The anticipation crackled in the air as he looked into the determined faces of his neighbors. It was time to take a stand. "Listen up," Thompson began, his voice cutting through the murmurs. "We've all felt the weight of Sarah's threats hanging over us, but today we show her what true community looks like." A chorus of agreement rippled through the crowd, fueled by the stories of intimidation they had shared in recent days. Hands shot up, voices clamoring to add weight to the furious tide. Claire, standing to his side, encouraged him with an approving nod. An elder man, Mr. Jenkins, raised his shaking hand. "They can't intimidate us forever, not if we fight back. You remember my barn? They smeared graffiti all over it just to send a message." "Exactly," Thompson shouted, sensing the fear but also the fire of resilience in the crowd. "That was meant to silence you, but we refuse to let them. If we unite, we can take down Sarah's reign of terror." "But how?" Someone called out from the back, a younger woman with wide eyes reflecting uncertainty. "She has connections everywhere. What if she retaliates?" "We anticipate her next move," Claire interjected, stepping forward to harness the crowd's doubts. "We turn the tables on her. Sarah's strength lies in intimidation, but our strength lies in each other. We gather evidence, testimonies, and we expose her lies." A murmur of excitement surged through the group, voices rising as they began to discuss strategies. Each neighbor shared stories of the injustices they had faced, building momentum. Thompson felt the energy coalesce into a powerful force. They were no longer a collection of frightened residents. They were fighters reclaiming their home. Suddenly, shouts erupted from the far side of the park. As everyone turned, two of Sarah's men stepped forward, their faces taut with menace. The crowd fell silent, tension thickening the air. "What's this?" one of them sneered, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "A little pep rally? Cute. Back off." Thompson shouted instinctively, stepping protectively in front of the people. Fear threatened to unfurl in his chest, but he didn't back down. The townsfolk looked to him with trust in their eyes. "You're not welcome here." The men exchanged glances, smirking at the sight of his defiance. "You think you can stand against Sarah? You're outnumbered, and you don't know the game you're playing," the second man barked, stepping closer. Thompson's heart raced as the crowd shifted uneasily. "This is our town, not Hayes," he declared, raising his voice to match their hostility. With lightning reflexes, one of the men lunged forward, grabbing Thompson by the collar. "You'll regret this, old man. Sarah knows how to deal with pests like you," he growled, his face inches from Thompson's. But before the situation could escalate, Claire stepped in, her camera at the ready. "Do you really want a record of your threats against the community? Because I'm sure the public will love to hear about it." Stunned by the unexpected tone, the men hesitated, a hint of uncertainty flickering in their eyes. They knew too well the weight of bad publicity. Both abruptly stepped back, feigning laughter. "You think your little group can take her down? Good luck with that." As the intruders retreated into the shadows, Thompson faced the crowd, adrenaline coursing through him. "We need to stay sharp. She'll retaliate, and we have to be ready." His words ignited fire in their hearts, a call to action refusing to be squelched. In the days that followed, they answered his call. The community banded together, gathering evidence, sharing accounts of intimidation, and bolstering one another's resolve. But that night, something twisted in the shadows, a chill coursed through the air, a premonition that spoke of danger lurking just outside the safe confines of their unity. As Thompson scanned the area, weariness crept over him. They had awakened the dragon, and now it would breathe fire. Determined not to let fear take hold, he met with Claire again, intentions clear. "We need a plan, Claire. This won't just be about protecting ourselves. We need to outsmart them." "Agreed," Claire replied, her gaze unwavering. "We'll expose their operations. But we must act fast before Sarah and her cronies beat us to it." Their determination sealed the bond tightening around their community. With each secret meeting and conversation, Thompson knew they were laying the foundation for something monumental, a fight that would shift the tides of power forever. They could not afford to falter now. A storm brewed on the horizon, but they were ready to confront Sarah and reclaim their homes, their community, and their freedom. The battle for their lives had begun. Thompson could feel the weight of the gathered community pressing in around him, each heart pounding with the raw fear of what lay ahead. The shadows of Sarah's men still loomed large in his memory, a stark reminder that their battle was only beginning. As he surveyed the faces of his neighbors, friends, parents, workers, he knew he couldn't let them down. "We must gather everything we can," Thompson said, his voice steady despite the turmoil inside. "We need testimonies, photos, anything that proves Sarah's intimidation tactics." "We'll do it," Claire affirmed, her eyes blazing with determination. "Let's meet tonight at the diner. Share everything you've got, no stone unturned." As the crowd dispersed, Thompson's mind raced through the approaching storm. He decided to pay a visit to the local library, hoping for any historical records on the HOA. With each stride toward town, he felt the atmosphere shift, shadows creeping closer as whispers of conspiracy tightened their grip. But something felt off. Thompson's instinct screamed at him as he approached the library, finding it eerily quiet, the door ajar. He entered with caution, the musty scent of old books enveloping him. As he stepped further inside, he heard a rustling sound from the back room, a voice he recognized instantly. "Sarah," he breathed, his heart picking up speed. With stealth, he crept closer, trying to make sense of muffled murmurs. Pressing his ear against the wall, he could hear Sarah's voice sharp and accusatory. "You let him gather support, and now they are confident. What is your plan to fix this?" A second voice, gruff and hesitant, answered, "I'm working on it, but these people are tougher than we thought. They've formed a real alliance." Thompson's heart raced. If he could gather evidence of this meeting, it would be undeniable proof of Sarah's manipulative control over her henchmen and the lengths she would go to maintain her grip. He stepped back, searching for a vantage point. Suddenly, a sharp noise echoed in the stillness, a book sliding off a shelf. "What was that?" Sarah snapped, her tone turning ice cold. "Go check it out. Now." Thompson's breath quickened. He hurriedly ducked behind a stack of encyclopedias just as a heavy footfall approached. He held his breath, every nerve in his body tingling with anxiety. The door swung open, and one of Sarah's men stepped inside, scanning the room with a hawkish gaze. Thompson stifled a curse, the tight space amplifying every heartbeat. The man's eyes lingered on the library shelves, and for a moment, Thompson thought he might be found. But then the henchman retreated, muttering something about needing to report back. As he edged back into the main area, a realization struck him. A chance to gather the very evidence they needed was slipping away. Quietly, he slipped into the room Sarah had just exited, his courage igniting once more. Amidst the scattered papers, he spotted a folder with Sarah's name embossed on the cover. His hands shook as he grabbed it and hurriedly flipped through the pages. They detailed finds, threats, and names of townsfolk Sarah had targeted in the past, a literal blueprint of intimidation. Just as he was about to make his escape, footsteps thundered from the hallway. He couldn't risk being caught with the evidence. Stuffing the folder under his jacket, he darted out of the library, adrenaline fueling his escape through the side door. The cool evening air hit him as he dashed toward his truck. Glancing back to see Sarah's man exiting the library, frustration etched on his face. He drove away, the moon illuminating his path, but the sense of danger lingered. The fight was intensifying, and he felt the heightened urgency to unite the community's voices. As he reached the diner, the captivating energy stirred inside him, propelling him forward to share what he had found. Inside, locals were gathering, their conversations filled with concern and excitement. Thompson burst through the door, panting but exhilarated. "I have something," he shouted, capturing everyone's attention. "We need to strike hard tonight. Sarah's men are scared, and I've got proof." The room fell silent, the gravity of his words sinking in. One by one, eyes widened as he revealed the folder, showing them the damning evidence Sarah had inadvertently laid bare. "Look at this." Thompson urged, tossing it onto the table. "This is how she works. Manipulation, intimidation, and complete disregard for our rights. We need to gather our stories and present these findings to the county. If we confront her with this, we can shatter her facade." Whispers of resolve rushed through the crowd, replacing their previous fear with a growing determination. It was time, not only to protect their homes, but to expose Sarah for the fraud she was. Are we ready to unite? Thompson challenged, his voice raised with passion. Yes. The response rang out, loud and united. As they shared their tales of intimidation, the mood shifted. Stories filled the air like kindling igniting into a blaze. People spoke of threats, unjust fines, and intimidation tactics that had kept them silent for too long. Each tale added fuel to a growing spirit of rebellion. But as the night deepened, Thompson couldn't shake the feeling that they were not just standing against an HOA. They were standing against a web of deceit woven by a predator, and their voices would be the weapon they wielded. Suddenly, the diner's door swung open, and Thompson's blood ran cold. Sarah stood there, flanked by her men, a predatory grin on her face. Well, what have we here? She purred, her voice slicing through the newfound courage. Looks like a little town meeting, Thompson shot back, his resolve not wavering despite the onslaught of fear. You should know, she continued, stepping inside with a chilling calmness. I don't appreciate people meddling in my business. You wouldn't want to end up like some of the folks in town who thought they could oppose me. A cold dread settled over the room, but Thompson stood tall, aware that this was not just a confrontation. It was a turning point. The real battle was on the horizon, and together they would face whatever came next. Thompson's heart raced as Sarah waltzed into the diner, her presence instantly suffocating the atmosphere. The eyes of his neighbors darted around, some filled with fear, others steeling themselves to the confrontation he knew was inevitable. Looks like everyone's gathered for a little gossip session, Sarah sneered, crossing her arms as her henchman flanked her, muscles tense and ready. I can't help but wonder what kind of trouble you're stirring up this time, Thompson. Why don't you tell us yourself? Thompson shot back, adrenaline fueling his voice as he stepped forward, the weight of support from the townsfolk bolstering his courage. We're finished being intimidated by you and your little games. Sarah's smile twisted into something darker, eyes narrowing. You think you've got what it takes to stand against me? You have no idea how much danger you're in. Every threat I make has a purpose, and every story will have consequences. We're not afraid of your threats anymore, Claire interjected, standing tall beside Thompson. What you don't realize is that we've gathered evidence against you, proof of the manipulation and intimidation you wield like a weapon. As the words hung in the air, murmurs of disbelief and determination surged through the crowd. Thompson watched as Sarah's expression flickered, a momentary crack in her icy demeanor. You think you can intimidate me with your little pile of papers, she retorted, a nervous laugh escaping her lips. But deep down, Thompson sensed a crack of fear in her bravado. No, Sarah, he replied, gathering resolve. It's not just papers. It's the voices of everyone you've tried to silence. It's our truth, and together we stand stronger than your deceitful tactics. The tension thickened as Sarah's men exchanged wary glances, the boisterous confidence they usually exuded faltering. Thompson seized that moment, pressing on. You know what happens when people unite against a common enemy. They become powerful. Sarah's smile faltered, and she pushed back, fury flaring in her eyes. You think you can start something here? You have no idea what consequences you will face. People disappear when they decide to challenge me. A chill ran through the diner, palpable fear hovering in the air. But Thompson refused to let it take root. And that's exactly why we're here. No more whispers in the dark. This ends now. Just then, someone from the back shouted, Sarah, we won't let you take our homes anymore. The cry ignited a spark in the room, and voices rose in unity, echoing their resolve. They had finally found their strength, and Thompson recognized that power had shifted. They would no longer cower. Enough of this. Sarah snapped, but her voice trembled slightly, betraying her loss of control. You think you're ready for war? This is just the beginning. Let's not wait, Thompson challenged, feeling the momentum swell. What are you afraid of? Come at us, Sarah. We're ready to take back what is rightfully ours. Before Sarah could respond, the door swung open. A local news reporter had arrived, catching wind of the commotion. The diner's atmosphere shifted again, excitement bubbling beneath the tension as a reporter strode over, notebook in hand. What's going on here? I heard there was a meeting happening, she said, her gaze flashing from Thompson to Sarah. Thompson saw the opportunity and seized it. Why don't you ask Sarah about her dealings with the HOA? We're exposing her manipulation and fear tactics. The tension hung like a dark storm cloud above them, and Thompson could feel the collective anticipation of the townspeople. Sarah's face turned a shade paler as she realized cameras might capture every raw emotion she attempted to conceal. We have evidence, Claire added, her voice steady as she began outlining the testimonies they had gathered. People's stories, their lives, everything she's disrupted in her quest for power. You think you can ruin my image, just like that? Sarah hissed, stepping closer, her fury radiating. You're playing a dangerous game. The reporter scribbled urgently in her notebook, sensing the brewing storm. And what will you do to defend your image, Sarah? People deserve to know the truth. As the tension escalated, Thompson felt a familiar pulse of fear creeping back, but focused on the unity rising in the diner. You can't silence us anymore, Sarah. You're a coward hiding behind intimidation. In a fit of rage, Sarah turned to her henchmen, signaling them to advance, but the townsfolk stepped forward, forming a protective circle around Thompson and Claire. We won't back down, someone shouted. Another echoed. We stand together. As with every face staring her down, Thompson could see Sarah looping through a myriad of emotions, anger, disbelief, and, finally, fear. It struck him then she was not as powerful as she wanted everyone to believe. Realizing she was losing control, Sarah snapped. You think this community can stand against me? I will make you regret choosing this path. I have connections. People in positions of power will back me. But before she could turn, the reporter fired off questions, catching Sarah off guard. And how do you justify the tactics used against residents? The intimidation doesn't seem like a measure of a community leader. As the questions flew, Sarah's armor started to crack visibly, the composure she fought desperately to maintain crumbling under the weight of truth looming around her. Each word from the townsfolk only fueled Thompson's resolve. With no way out, a twisted smile crept across Sarah's lips. Remember this moment. Thompson, you think this is a victory? This is only the beginning. I never lose. With that statement hanging in the air like a foreboding storm cloud, she stormed out, her henchmen following in her wake, leaving the townsfolk buzzing with adrenaline and uncertainty. Relief washed over Thompson and the crowd. The confrontation had ignited fears but also transformed them into something powerful. They weren't just witnesses anymore. They were players in a game being dictated by Sarah's greed. As the reality of what lay ahead settled in, they realized they had lit a spark that could become a wildfire. Thompson turned to the townsfolk, ready to rally them once more. Let's take this momentum and push forward. We will expose her for all she is, a bully hiding in the shadows. Rallying cries erupted, a mixture of fear and resolve creating a chorus of defiance. They would not only fight for their homes, they would fight for their freedom, together, and they would let that fire grow until it consumed the very foundation of Sarah's tyranny. Thompson stood in the thickening tension as the townsfolk erupted with fervor. The taste of victory lingered in the air, but deep down, he knew this battle was far from over. He could feel the resolve in the pounding hearts around him, thrumming like a battle drum, each pulse underscoring how far they had come. Tonight, we regroup and plan, he urged, voice steady despite the exhilaration coursing through him. Tomorrow is our chance to confront the county board and expose Sarah once and for all. We can't let her intimidate us anymore, a woman in the front shouted, gripping her sign like a lifeline. We'll be there. With every nod and murmured agreement, Thompson felt unity blossom stronger than fear and energy pushing him forward. They gathered their stories, evidence, and testimonies, determined to arm themselves for the confrontation ahead. That night, Thompson barely slept. Images of Sarah's cold stare and veiled threats haunted him, but each flicker of doubt was trampled by images of his neighbors standing shoulder to shoulder, ready to fight. When morning broke, the sky was a steely gray, as if reflecting the intense anticipation swirling in Thompson's chest. He met with Claire, who had transformed her initial role as a journalist into a full-blown community leader, rallying the people and unearthing more hidden truths. Let's hit them with everything we've got, she said, fire lighting her eyes. This is our moment, Thompson. As they made their way to the town hall, he felt a surge of purpose. The rows of people behind them, marching with determination, bolstered his confidence. He could see others from the community, faces once ashen with fear, transformed into a tapestry of defiance and courage. Within the walls of Town Hall, the atmosphere was electric, filled with anxious energy from the gathered residents. Thompson glanced toward the front, where Sarah sat, her demeanor icy, flanked by local officials in suits. They were ready, waiting to crush the uprising. Public comment began, with residents stepping forward, sharing their stories of intimidation, manipulation, and fear. Each testimony served as a blade, chipping away at the facade Sarah had built. Thompson watched as Sarah's expression soured. The power was shifting, and he could feel it. Then it was his turn. Taking a deep breath, he approached the microphone, his heart pounding wildly within him. "I stand here not just for myself, but for all of us," he began, looking out across the sea of faces filled with hope. "We have lived in fear long enough. Sarah has used that fear to manipulate and control our lives, turning neighbors against each other. But no longer." His voice reverberated against the walls, echoing the fervor of the community's commitment. As he spoke, the tide turned visibly. Sarah's face twisted in anger, eyes flashing with a mixture of disbelief and contempt. But the people were no longer afraid. They had found their courage, fueled by a collective drive for justice. "And here," Thompson continued, "is the evidence that proves a corruption." He held up the folder he had stolen from the library, the papers crinkling in his grip. Every fine, every threat, every instance of intimidation, all the lives you destroy for your own profit, Sarah. Gasps rippled through the room as he flipped through the pages, highlighting Sarah's attempts to manipulate the community through fear. He couldn't help but notice her composure begin to crack, a slight tremor in her speech as she struggled to maintain her authority. "This isn't just about my home. It's about our homes. About our freedom," he shouted, conviction rising. "If we allow this to go unchecked, what will that mean for future generations? We are united, and we will not back down." The energy in the room surged, the crowd erupting into applause, voices shouting in support. Thompson felt invincible, the collective heartbeat of the community pumping waves of strength through him. "You think this is effective?" Sarah spat, eyes blazing as she stepped forward, desperation seeping into her tone. "You think this gathering will change anything? I have the power here." "No, you don't." Claire's voice rang out, interjecting before Thompson could respond. "You've lost the power of the community. Sarah, your tactics of fear and control have finally been exposed. You think people will continue to be afraid when they see that they are not alone." As the crowd thundered back in agreement, a flicker of panic flashed across Sarah's face. She turned to the officials beside her, desperation clawing at her. This wasn't just a board meeting. It was a war, and Thompson could feel the tide shifting even further. The hunger for justice had turned into a roaring tidal wave, surging forth against Sarah's crumbling empire. Suddenly, one of the officials, a longtime ally of Sarah, stood up. "We cannot overlook this evidence. The community deserves to feel safe, and if these claims have merit." The implications hit like a thunderclap. Sarah took a step back, her composure shattering as if struck by lightning. "You can't be serious," she shrieked, turning on the board with fury. "You're going to side with them? You can't let this happen." But Thompson took the chance and pressed on. "If you truly care about this community, prove it. Let's stand tall together against corruption, or are you willing to support someone who uses fear to control us?" The air crackled with intensity. With the weight of the townsfolk behind him, feeling invincible, Thompson pushed further. "We will not tolerate threats. We need a new path, one free from fear and control. You have a choice to make." The chaos erupted. Voices clamored. People shouted for justice, and Thompson relished the delicious thrill of watching Sarah's fortress crumble. He knew they were on the brink of something monumental. But just as the board began to deliberate, the front doors slammed open. A newcomer stepped through, drenched in rain, eyes fierce. It was an investigator, a local champion for the oppressed who had been taking notes on the HOA for months. "The truth can't stay hidden anymore," she declared, her voice cutting through the noise. "There's a larger investigation underway regarding Sarah and her dealings. We're here to expose a corruption deeply rooted in this town. Shockwaves rippled through the crowd, and Sarah's expression twisted into sheer panic. This wasn't just a simple board meeting now. It was an uproarious rebellion, the final unveiling of Sarah's treachery. As the investigators stepped beside Thompson, they connected in that moment, two fighters igniting the flame of a revolution. A powerful declaration hung in the air. They were reclaiming their voices, dismantling the grip of fear forever. Gather your evidence, share your stories, and we will rise as a community. Thompson roared, "We will not bow to tyranny." And in that moment, as raw emotion ignited the gathered crowd into a thunderous roar, Thompson felt the ground shake beneath their cause. The walls of fear began to crack, and Sarah's grip loosened, the realization dawning upon her that her reign of intimidation had come to an end. As they rallied together, one truth remained undeniable. The power of a united community was a force unbreakable, a force that would push through the darkest shadows to reclaim their lives and their homes. In the silence that followed the chaos, the crowd stood united, and Thompson felt an electrifying surge course through them, a memory solidifying in his heart. The fight for their home had not only begun, it had transformed into a saga that would be forever etched in their souls. They wouldn't remember just a day. They would remember that once hidden in the dark, they rose up as a powerful beacon of light. It was not merely about bricks and mortar. They fought for their rights, for their stories, for their future. And in their hearts, they knew this was a battle they would never forget.